Good evening, everyone. It is Saturday, July the 27th, 2019. It is currently 6:28 p.m. Central Time, or 6:29 p.m. Central Time, if I want to be specific, because the time just changed. But welcome, everyone. This is a live broadcast for the VBC 66 app. This live broadcast is obviously recorded and posted all over the internet. So for those who are listening to the recording, if you would like to listen to the live broadcast when they are live and listen to everything else that I upload and everything else that I post, take a few minutes, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, do a search for VBC66. That is VBC66. The app is absolutely free. Download the app and then you will have access to everything. Now, for those who have listened to me in the past, either a recording or a live broadcast, everything probably sounds a little different, kind of an echo in the room, and that is because all the carpet that used to be in my study is gone, and now there is a brand new hardwood floor. And hardwood floors look nice. I prefer them definitely after removing the carpet. I definitely prefer the hardwood floor, but it sounds very different in the room. Definitely an echo, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to spend countless hours trying to correct this too much. Hopefully it won't be too distracting for everyone. Again, the live broadcasts are primarily for the people using the VBC 66 app, and it's kind of my way of notifying the people using the app, saying, hey, I'm about to go live. I got some things to talk about. Tune in. It's not necessarily designed to try to be a professional podcast, and most of the things that I record are really more designed to not really come across in that way. Nothing wrong if you want a more professional sounding one, but I've been there, done that, and I don't really want to go back to that. Well, that's a long story. Don't want to get into all of that. But I am here this Saturday evening, July the 27th. Now, it's been a busy week here. Again, a lot of remodeling going on in this house, so things have been pretty chaotic. Haven't been able to do much recording or doing any live broadcast, but there is plenty to talk about, all right? So let's do this. Let's just jump in. Usually I give it a few minutes to let people who want to tune into the live broadcast to catch up, but I'm just going to jump in. So for those who do tune in, hopefully they'll catch up with what's going on. I guess we have to talk about, I know we have to talk about it. We have to talk about Joshua Harris. All right. Now, for those who do not know, if you've been on another planet somewhere, Joshua Harris is the author of what was the best-selling book. It sold a lot of copies, called I Kissed Dating Goodbye. I Kissed Dating Goodbye. Now, this book is one of those books that come out ever so often in the world of Christianity that for some reason they kind of transcend denomination, they transcend everything, and just people everywhere just starts grabbing copies of the book. And this is one of those cases. He was a young man. I don't remember his age when he wrote the book, but he was a young guy. He wrote this book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, and it was kind of his take on a new way Christians should handle things like dating and getting rid of that the cultural idea of dating and go to something far different. And he gave his take on how it should be done. He called for, obviously, purity, before marriage, and all of the typical things. Now, there were certain things in the book that you could not argue. You couldn't argue against if you cared about the Bible. Purity before marriage, faithfulness in marriage. These are biblical concepts. Some people kind of laugh at them today, but they're still in the Bible. So unless you reject the Bible, you're kind of stuck with them. However, to be fair, and I think everyone needs to remember this, the Bible does not lay out any strong guidelines on what, quote unquote, how a boy meets a girl and they become a couple and they get married. There's no real way in which it is described. There's no rules. Now you read stories in the Bible of how things happened here or things happened here. Usually there's stories in the Old Testament, but you got to be very careful in trying to build rules from those Old Testament stories and trying to bring them into 2019. Go, okay, young people, this is the way you should do things, okay? Because they were describing how things were done in culture. They weren't prescribing how we should adopt certain ideas. So so back then, though, what happened is Joshua Harris's book, I Kiss Dating Goodbye, kind of became, almost for some churches and for some pastors, it almost sounded like it was another book in the Bible. Here's the book in the Bible, all about dating. And young people, you must do it this way. And if you do not, you're not following the Bible, you're not spiritual, and you're not godly. I can't blame Joshua Harris for that. I blame more churches and pastors and Christian parents who went crazy and thought, this is the solution to all of our problems. If all of our young people do this, then we won't have teen pregnancy, we won't have teens committing fornication, and everything will be wonderful. And then, reality happens, because no matter what structure you give anyone, let me explain to everyone, this is really a shocking idea. One, human beings are sexual creatures. Can't say that. And number two, we're sinners by nature. All right. So we're going to try to fulfill that sexual desire, that sexual need inside of us as a human being, and we'll have a tendency to try to satisfy that in an unbiblical way because, we are sinners. All right. So I think sometimes parents and sometimes Christians just want give me the method, give me the 5-point plan, give me the 7-point plan, and this plan should resolve all the problems, instead of realizing faith and Christian life is messy. It has ups, it has downs, it has struggles, and we have to be willing that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And all the easy solutions that Christians give us sometimes in the so-called Christian publishing world, 5 ways to do this, 6 ways to do that. That's not the way real life works. Real life can't be resolved in a 5-point plan or a 6-point plan. It can't. It's not like that. And when you're a young Christian, you don't realize it. And then the longer you are a Christian, you realize, it's a messy proposition, and there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be failure, there's going to be struggle, and we have to be prepared for that. But we would like, just give us an easy answer. So a lot of the hoopla about I Kiss Dating Goodbye, I put really at the foot, I'm not going to blame Joshua Harris for a lot of it, and I've said this in previous recordings about Joshua Harris. I kind of put it at the door of the church. Here was a young man. The Christian publishing world jumped on it and made him a, quote unquote, a Christian rock star in a sense. He was the new flavor of the month, which always happens. Well, over time, he began to regret the things he wrote in the book, began to kind of disavow and turn against some of the things in the book. He apologized. I guess he went on kind of like an apology tour. He did a documentary, and he became convinced that a lot of things he said in his book wasn't right. Well, then he announced, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, that him and his wife were separating. Right? Their marriage was coming to an end. And I came out and said, hey, before we just use this to bash him, a marriage just came to an end. As Christians who supposedly believe in the sanctity of marriage, maybe instead of I never believed his book in the first place, and he's a bunch of, he's garbage, and he's a sinner, and he should be doing it the right way because marriages shouldn't fall apart, and just, heap 25 pounds of condemnation on the guy. I said, maybe we should be broken that a marriage just came to an end, be saddened for his kids, be saddened for how this may impact people they know, and pray for him and ask God to have mercy on him and show compassion and love. My message wasn't well received by many people, because many people are like, no, you're not willing to say what needs to be said. I wasn't saying, I never said divorce was right. I was just simply saying when a Christian's marriage falls apart, we should be broken and not use it as a point to celebrate the fact that someone we don't like theologically made a mistake. Sometimes that's the thing that blows my mind about Christians. If it's a Christian you don't like, and they make a mistake, a moral mistake, they fall, their marriage falls apart, their kids go bad. Christians, this is the most ungodly, I will label this almost satanic. They almost see that as an opportunity to try to make a theological point or try to make an argument. Like, oh, look, Joshua Harris, I never liked him anyway, and I never liked his theology. His marriage is falling apart. Now, attack. Now I can use this as an opportunity to destroy him. That's ungodly. You don't use people's failures, people you don't like, you don't wait for them to fall so then you can therefore go, see, I knew they weren't spiritual. I knew. They're just a human being who commits sin. We all do so. Some sin is spectacular and, controversial and, it's all over the place, and some sin is in private. Don't use people's failure as an attempt to attack their theology. It just when Rick Warren's son committed suicide, I saw the same thing within Christianity. Everyone wanted to attack the theology of Rick Warren. I'm like, his son just committed suicide, and we want to use this as an opportunity to attack his theology. It's just so not Christian about it. It feels like politics, right? Oh, wait, okay, I'm going to be running against this person in the next upcoming election. Let's find some dirt on them and then use it to destroy them. That's not the way Christianity is supposed to be. But he announced his marriage was coming to an end. And after that, there were some interviews that came out, and I started having this really sinking suspicion. And my sinking suspicion was, it's over. Joshua Harris is about to come out and renounce Christianity, say he's no longer a Christian, and that's going to be the end of that. Well, it happened. I have the Christian Post, an article dated Saturday, July the 27th, 2019. That is today, so I'm up to date with this article. Here's the headline. Joshua Harris, falling away from faith. I am not a Christian. Joshua Harris, the author of the best-selling book I Kissed Dating Goodbye, announced in an Instagram post Friday that he is no longer a Christian. The shocking admission comes a week after Harris publicly announced that he and his wife, so it was a week ago that they announced that. I thought it was longer. So the shocking admission comes a week after Harris publicly announced that he and his wife, Shannon, were separating after 20 years of marriage, but would remain friends, and they continue to raise the 3 children together. In the Instagram post, Harris commented on the response he received about his pending divorce and dropped another shocking announcement by revealing that he is falling away from the faith and no longer identifies as a Christian. Harris also apologized to the LGBTQ community for not supporting same-sex marriage and affirming their place in the church. That's an interesting. I don't want to read it more. I don't want to read a lot into that, but it does seem kind of, hey, I'm no longer, I left my wife. I'm separating from my wife. Hey, I'm no longer a Christian. And I would like to apologize to the LGBTQ community. Is there another announcement coming? I don't know. I don't want to say there is, but, it does seem like an odd time to decide to apologize to the LGBT community, but okay. 3 years ago, Harris also apologized for the advice he gave in his 1997 book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, that he wrote when he was just 20 years old, before he had ever been in a dating relationship. Now, let me stop right there. He wrote the book as a young man before he'd ever been in a dating relationship. And this became the catechism for how Christians are to date. Or how Christians should not date. Or what, and it's just like, I don't know why the church so embraced it and made it, it's like just because there's a book in the Christian bookstore doesn't make it authoritative. Doesn't make it the answer to everything. Let me give you an example. Now, this is diving way back into ancient church history. There was a man by the name of Mike Warnke, I think that was his last name, who wrote a book called, I think it was called The Satan Seller. All right, now I'm doing this from memory. And it was him supposedly he was a high priest in the Church of Satan, and then he was converted, and he became a Christian comedian, and he wrote this book about his experience in Satanism. And this book became it literally became